My name is Wagelmans. Currently I'm a professor of management science here in the Erasmus School of Economics. My life motto is trust your intuition. When I was a child I was hoping to become a musician because I always loved music and I thought maybe I could also make some music myself. But in the end I found out I did not have enough talent, so I became a professor of management science instead. I was a very hard-working student. I think also very ambitious. I just like to get good grades, do very well at my courses. And I think I did. So after my studies, I decided to do a PhD here at Erasmus. And during that time, when I was learning how to do research, I realized that this was something that I really liked to do. I like the whole environment. I like the type of people who are working in academia. So people who are really, on one hand, ambitious, but also very passionate about what they were doing. International group of people. So I liked those aspects, and I think that was what made me finally decide to stay in academia. Main steps that I took to become a researcher was doing the PhD here at Erasmus, which is a very good institution, so a very good starting point for my career. And then what I did next to that is that I developed my international network within research, and that turned out very well, both professionally, also personally. For instance, this is how I met my wife in the States. So the main topic of my research is the design and analysis of optimization methods, mathematical optimization methods for planning problems in all kinds of complex systems, in particular logistical systems. So officially I have every week, say 2 days to do research. Probably I don't always spend that much time on it because I have many other obligations, but certainly it's not enough. It's never enough for research because every answer that you give to a question also brings new questions. So the reason why we started to work on screening policies for infectious diseases is that my PhD student Harwin de Vries was interested in it. So I hooked him up with some people I knew at Institute for Health Policy and Management here at Erasmus, and actually also people at Erasmus MC. And they knew people in Africa who had data on this disease, and this is how we could actually start working. So the main challenges when we try to do this specific research on screening is that, well, first of all you need data, and data, reliable data to obtain those is very hard in general, especially when you're working in areas like Africa. And the next to that, once you have the data, you need to have some kind of prediction model that by which you can predict how actually screening for these diseases affects the disease burden. And once you know that, you have to do another step, because then you have to think about how are we going to allocate, say, the scarce resources that we have for fighting the disease. So these three parts all constitute challenges that we had to deal with. If you look at what people are currently doing for active case finding for these infectious diseases, then you see actually that the effectiveness really depends on how they are doing it. So you have some guidelines by the World Health Organization, but those are not necessarily the most effective way that you can do it. And one of the results of our study was that we showed that probably you can do much better than what the World Health Organization advises. So one of the key factors that we found when you are trying to optimize effectiveness is that you have to distinguish between villages. So you should not treat every village the same, but you should look at what the expected burden of disease is in a particular village. And then villages that have a high expected burden of disease, you should say prioritize them when you are doing the screening. So according to the results of our research, it is possible to improve on the current practice by, say, about 50%, meaning that you will have 50% in the long term, 50% less cases of this sleeping disease, that's a particular disease that we focused on, in the region in Africa that we had the data for. So the main findings of our research is, first of all, that it is possible to predict how the disease will develop over time given a certain type of screening policy. And then the second main finding is that it is possible to do better than the current guidelines suggest. And the nice thing of the whole study is that you could also try to apply it on other diseases like AIDS or malaria or whatever, all those type of diseases, in principle you could do a similar type of approach. So it's, the results are much more generic than only applicable to this particular disease. For me, the most prominent outcome of the research that we did is that people are now considering adopting it really in practice. So I did in my past a lot of research that was, say, much more theoretical, but it's very nice to see that now we can really have an impact which will affect people's life. My name is Wagelmans, and my message to the students is: trust your intuition.